Dearest powerhouses, you've heard Kathleen and her husband's gorgeous sound therapy compositions, and now you get to meet the woman behind the music and behind the man, Kathleen Hayden, living angel among us, resident, resplendent being, heavenly helper, splendiferous spirit guide, divine dispenser, incoherence interceptor, and grace-giving goddess. I can rattle off these descriptors with confidence because I've come to know Kathleen rather well in all her talents, gifts, and graces. Lucky me. Kathleen and I met through a mutual friend who's a documentary filmmaker and is featuring Kathleen and her composer husband, John, in his brilliant film, which I cannot say more about now. But these two are greatly worthy of such a prominent feature and much more, as they have the most comprehensive, deep knowledge of sound therapy around. Sound therapy is, of course, trending a lot right now for good reason. Today, you will learn about it directly from one of the subject's premier voices. Kathleen is very humble and would tell you that her life experiences have brought her where she is today. Kathleen recalls always being a visionary and well ahead of her time since she was very little. She felt a strong connection with heavenly things and an intuition far beyond her years. Kathleen embraced a life of a healer and empath even from way back then. After a career in water therapy, fitness, Pilates, massage, and owning wellness centers in Colorado and Texas, Kathleen came across Dr. Lynn Cannon, who was developing a program with the Royal Rife machine. The Rife machine, as some of you know, is a device whereby frequencies are run through the body to heal all manner of imbalances. This is where Kathleen met her partner, John Anthony. John and Kathleen started working with Dr. Lynn to learn all they could about this newly introduced sound healing. Together, they developed Aquamotion, body work in the water. Then their lives were changed forever when Kathleen was asked to be in a self-help movie to highlight Aquamotion called Keeper of the Keys. Kathleen and John were given sessions in Aquamotion, which is a method designed to release fear and bring calmness. This experience put them in direct contact with the creator of Aquamotion, Regina Murphy. Regina had been in sound therapy arena for over 20 years, and she was testing putting sound in water for healing. The two went to Regina's house with the idea of combining the healing sound therapy tracks with the Aquamotion modality. The outcome was nothing short of revolutionary. Since humans are over 70% water, are 5% lighter in the water, and since sound travels 5 times faster in water, the result was amazing. Over the next few years, the program went through the hot springs in Colorado to resorts in the Caribbean. Kathleen and John began to see miracles unfold with this technology, and to this day, they see results they could never have imagined. Kathleen is also a quantum healer. In her practice, she works with her spiritual guides, angels, galactic and planetary teams to make enormous shifts possible for those who are fortunate enough to work with her. I have had this experience with Kathleen personally. In fact, I have been the great beneficiary of every single one of Kathleen and John's modalities, which are extensive. Today, Kathleen is here with us to shed light on what she does and how it all works. If you are looking to go to the next level and raise your consciousness to a blissful state of harmony for your mind, body, and spirit, this is the person to work with. I mean this so sincerely that we have incorporated Kathleen's healing work into the newly launched VIP package, which may be accessed through our admissions director, Jessica Lake, in the resource area on our Pure Power platform. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you so much. I am so privileged and honored to be here. And I just want to say we're in amazing but stressful times in our world. So today I'd like to just start, if it's okay with you, just to get everyone to kind of take a few breaths and get centered and listen to the message of a couple cards that I pulled for your platform and all your viewers. Okay, the first thing I want you to do, if you're not comfortable, get relaxed, and just close your eyes for a couple minutes. And I'm going to lead you through this calming meditation short, just to get you into the spirit of what we're going to be talking about today. The most important thing about what we're talking about today is intention. And intention plus frequencies equal healing. And that was trademarked by a good friend of mine, Jonathan Goldman, a long time ago, that if your intention is pure and your intention is for the highest good, miracles happen in that space. So today I want a miracle for you. So just take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and exhaling and releasing anything that no longer is serving you right now. Stress, the morning, the day, the night, your world, whatever it is, this is your time to let go. Over these next few minutes, I want you to learn how important and magnificent you are as a human being. You are here right now because you chose to be here. And when I say we, it's the collective. We are so grateful for you being here in this place, in this world, on this earth, right here, right now. And ironically, the card I pulled concerning that was, I see all the beauty in you. You are just as beautiful as you are. Shed your beauty and share your beauty to the world. The second card I pulled was relevant to our world today and to our souls. It is called peace, dissolving unwanted or disturbing thoughts. There is truly no point in worrying about things that are not in your control. Worry does not help anyone, nor does it help to resolve anything. On the contrary, it often makes scenes worse than they actually are. Life is such that we can always find something to worry about. Yet, for your own well-being and for the well-being of those around you, it is vital that you learn to deal with things in a more important way, in a positive way. Stop the endless cycle of disturbing and negative thoughts. You are advised to train yourself to focus on the positive side of things. Set aside time at the beginning and end of each day to meditate. Bring your awareness within. Feel and imagine yourself right now surrounded by love and light. Allow the universal light of love to fill your heart and your mind. Imagine your thoughts dissolving and floating away into space. Your mind at peace, as clear as a blue sky. Focus on all that you are grateful for in your life and thank Mother Earth and the universe for every blessing. Your affirmation is, I trust in the power of love. I trust that all will unfold as it should. My mind is like a clear blue sky. My heart is filled with love. All upon this earth is bathed in a sea of love. These messages come to you from much higher perspective. You are an amazing human being. You are light and love in this human experience. You are love. Take another nice deep breath and just soak that in. That you are love. Unconditionally. So it is. And just come back to this place. And I want you to think a minute about listening versus hearing. Hearing is a mechanical response. We hear the things around us externally. But listening is going within and really listening to the message being told to you. Really listening to what your soul is calling for. Really listening to find your deepest soul connection. So as we start today, I ask that you can listen to the message. Listen to the words that are being spoken. And know words are so powerful. Choose your words wisely because they affect everyone else in our universe.
Wow. So much we needed to be reminded of, that we're love, how to listen, peace. It's beautiful. Thank you for anchoring that in us as we begin this conversation. Well, I think we need to start with the sound therapy, but I want to make sure that we get to your ability to help people remove the accumulated toxicity in their energy fields. Because as you know, with Pure Power, we're removing all that is not what we have received by our perfect design from source. The accumulation of the cultural norms and conditionings and programs and all the as you call it, the black goo, when you worked on me, the black goo. So I want to get to that very much, and we will. First, would you kindly establish for us what sound therapy is, how it's used, and why you and John have incorporated it the way you have and developed the modules and tracks that you have, just to kind of an overview of
Sure.
how it all came to be.
As you talked about, we were introduced to sound about 15 years ago. And really, it was a remembering. It was a remembering for both of us from many lifetimes. We were in many different lifetimes doing music and being healers and being shamans and also working with energy in so many different ways. So when we met Dr. Lynn and Regina, which were both our mentors over the last 15 years, we realized they were brought into our lives to help us remember, because sound is what created our world. In the beginning was the Word. And just as I just spoke about the Word and the importance of our words, when we came into this world, we were born with a soul song. And unfortunately, like all the paradigms that you talk about with our body and our temples and our beliefs, we have forgotten our song of our soul. And so I believe that this time in our universe and in our world, sound therapy is being brought back to us to remember who we really are. And so there's all different kinds of sound therapy. There's all kinds of people doing sound therapy. 15 years ago, people looked at us like we had 4 heads. Within the last, I'd just say 3 to 4 years, people are starting to learn about it and learn about it in a big way. Our TV, our media, Gaia is showing TV shows. Singing bowls are popping up everywhere. Sound baths, sound healings. And I think the best way to describe sound is relating our body to an orchestra. And so we are an orchestra with many parts. And each of those parts, each of those organs, each of those systems of our body all resonate at a specific frequency. Down to the layers of the cell, the 5 layers of the cell, have 5 different frequencies. And so all these frequencies, when they're in harmony, we have a well-oiled machine, or a beautiful symphony and orchestra going on within us, where we can naturally heal ourselves, where we can make our bodies perfect as they were built to be. Did you know that we can rejuvenate our whole body in the 180 days? That's amazing. And so when I think of sound and sound therapy and bringing it into the awareness of people today, it's what happens is in that symphony, second, the second violinist loses the sheet music. And pretty soon the whole orchestra gets out of tune and it becomes very disharmonic. That disharmony creates dis-ease in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is it that comes first? The thoughts, the words? What is it that causes that disharmony? The toxins, the food sources, the food you eat, the drink, the things you ingest? That all affects the symphony and orchestra within. And so, what sound does is teach you how to bring your body back into harmony. And that was the whole premise when we started adding the music to our Aqua Motion program. As I was a water therapist and I knew all the techniques to do in the water, and then they wanted us to know more about music in the water. And our friend Regina, she was scared of being in the water. So the only thing she had done was put some speakers in a foot bath and used it that way and was having amazing results. So when we asked to float her with our Aqua Motion program, she goes, I won't do it here. We were at a hotel in Vegas. And she goes, but if you'll come to my house, I will try it if you will try something I have. And she had a little portable amplifier with some speakers and a little nano iPod and with some music that had frequencies in it. And the two, it was like a marriage made in heaven. When we put the water program with her sound program, it was a miracle. And because we just didn't know how it would work or anything, she sent us home with the little amp and the speaker and the little nano. And we got back to Colorado, and the first thing John did was get into our bathtub and put the music in and hear it underwater. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's going to be perfect. And so we started exploring sources of music that would be in combination with what we were doing, and found out that to license music is very expensive. And there was a specific type of music that really needed to go with the frequencies that didn't distract you, that would allow your brain to entrain to a base level of entrainment. And so with John being a musician, he started exploring making music and vibrational pieces and what that looked like. And Regina had a son that was a musician on the other side. So a few of his first albums were channeled to him by John, another John. And then we started working with a couple of musicians to just understand that whole package. And then we were invited to produce a sound table in the water that was a water bed at a facility down in Florida. And that was what brought us to Florida to do our program. We had been working in Colorado and trying this in hot springs and starting to travel through the Caribbean. And that's kind of what started the whole program of the water and sound. And I had been on the team of Dr. Emoto, where he talked over water and he spoke over water, and you've probably seen his books, The Power of Water. And so we were very excited to combine all that together into a program. And that's what we did. It continued to grow and continues to still grow today. We started developing the music with specific frequencies for healing. So Rural Rife had a whole frequency manual of specific conditions that were treated with specific recipes. And the more we got involved in learning about frequencies, we started working with some of the probably the biggest people in the industry that produce frequencies for healing. We became sound therapists. We started doing tons and tons of research. and started with our first CD was a sleep CD. And when we would play that under the water, people came out and they just were like, what is that calming music? I want some. And that's kind of how Good Vibrations got started, by composing CDs so we could give them to people that tried our program, never intending to develop it into this large music company that we have today. And as a result of that, and through those working with populations of people that were coming in with terminal illnesses, coming in with just wanting to maybe improve their conditions or overall mental state, we were able to really have a great test market to play with, and to explore how well these benefits worked on people. And through that, John had an experience. While we were in Colorado, where he was a former builder and cabinet maker, and he was helping a friend's dentist office be revamped. And he got there to install the new countertops and everything, and the electricians had come before him and were supposed to turn off the electricity. And as he was coming in, they were leaving, he goes, oh yeah, we got the electricity off. When they went to move something, one of the boxes was hot and live, and his hand was on that box. It was a metal box. And he called me, and the whole inside of his hand was charred and black. And one of our best friends owned an electric company, and he was coming down from the mountains about 45 minutes, and he said, you need to get this and this ready, and I don't know how bad this is going to be, but I just want to tell you, I'm on my way home. And so he had his hand out. It was winter, and he had his hand out just to kind of keep it from burning in the air. And our friend came over, and he had seen many, many burns with employees and himself as well. So he got there, and he was like, oh, dude, you have a 4th-degree burn. You got to get to the hospital. And we had just gotten home with that program from Regina. I'm kind of backtracking a little. But he thought, I'm going to clean this up. So he cleaned it up and put lavender on his hand. And he said, if this sound therapy really works, it's going to have to show me tonight. And he put the little nano speaker in his hand, wrapped his hand in an ace bandage. And our friend said, don't worry, I'll get up to the place. I'll get the electricity turned back on, and you don't have to worry about it. I'll see you at the hospital. And he said, okay, well, if I'm not up there at 7, I'm at the hospital. And he woke up about 6 that morning, and he said, okay, I'm going to see what it is. He had no idea what was on the musical track at that time. And he took off the bandage, and he goes, oh my gosh. And he came in, and his hand looked just like this. So we knew we were onto something. We knew that was really therapeutic. And we dug so deep into research and working with science and working on the brain and how the brain absorbs frequencies and learning all about binaural beats. And this is all part of the world of sound therapy. And so we have about 175 albums today that address almost every condition known to man. And our medical is very science-oriented. It's based on science. Everything that we do has that scientific. And when I say that, we don't do the research, but we work with the researchers that do it. And so we have been allowed all their research and access to it for us to not only read, but also to be able to share for people that want that side of the equation, because you have to have both. You have to have that belief, you have to have the science, and combine them all, right? So I guess that's a long explanation of kind of what sound therapy is.
Or at least what it can be at its absolute best.
Right.
Because, what you and John have gone on to create is so specific based on those neurobeats and the science that that gets poured into every track. And there's such specificity, which isn't just a given at large in sound therapy. So that's why what really enables you guys to stand apart with what you're offering and providing, I should say. I love what you said about the song of our soul, and that we're restoring ourselves back to our original song, our soul song. It's really beautiful.
Have you ever heard your soul song?
Well, I guess the closest I've ever come is usually in the morning when I wake up, or if I'm coming out of a very deep meditation, my body will be humming, it will be vibrating viscerally, and there is a sound experience around. There's also a light experience, a light show of very beautiful golden vibrating colors, which I believe is connected with that. The let's say the chords, like the chords, chords meaning chords you play as well. So I think I've gotten hints of it, but I don't know that I've heard it in its most, like with like the maestro playing it at full blast and everything.
Well, and just the fact that you hear that, that is huge. You're probably less than 0.5% of people that do. So when we talk about the soul song and retrieving that, is when we came into this incarnation, we came in with a song. And those were specific notes that were designed for our soul. And our soul has been with us every lifetime. And so it's been the same song since the beginning.
Wow.
And so when you hear that song, it's a song that resonates with your soul, so that you can go deep and find your soul's passion and find your soul's mission from way back from the inception of time. And in this era and age of Aquarius, I think the most amazing thing right now is that we get to let all that go that no longer serves us. This is a golden opportunity, like you were talking about, the golden light shining into your heart, into your soul. That is what's happening right now in these times on our earth. Yes, I know in the external world there's a lot going on. But if there's any way you can take and make a bubble of your life and turn off those externals as much as possible, to really dive deep into what you teach, Natalie, what I teach, what we are all going towards, is learning who we are and raising our consciousness to that level of unconditional love and compassion for each other, for our lives, for our world, for our universe, for our solar systems, for our star systems. It's something that there are so many galactic beings here right now that have come at this specific time. And I would say they've been working for a good 50, 60 years, since the last age of Aquarius in the 60s. And we hit the tipping point this year. We tipped to the new earth. That means that in the new earth, we're returning to bliss. We're returning to that life of unconditional love and compassion. And so whatever tools you can use, which sound is probably one of the easiest tools with no side effects, that you can get on that path of raising that consciousness even higher, to where the 3 density, the dimension of the 3 density no longer serves you, and you can rise above it. And I think that's where we all are as a planet, as a earth. You know, when they talk about the new earth, what are they talking about? It's not that a new earth is going to take the place, a new planet. It's changing the thoughts and the ability to rise above the density we've been oppressed in, and to rise to a density of unconditional love again, in that blissful state. And so I feel like that sound can do that for you if it's really with the right intention. There's also sound that's being used for the wrong intention, just like everything else. I don't want to talk about that. It's out there, it's out there. And we get bombarded with it on a daily basis in negative ways. But when you live inside that bubble of positive and knowing that you're doing what your soul's calling you to do and your body is calling you to do, then it's your intention that's going to make it happen.
Yeah. I love that. So much is coming to mind. I want to talk about the incoherence just insofar that, we can identify where it's coming from. Would you say that anything that is artificial, that is not coming from the natural world, the authentic world, is part and parcel of that offensive incoherence that began when that second violinist lost their sheet music?
Yes, I think most of our incoherence comes from outside of our environment, our outside external environment. And that when you go within and you go into that state of consciousness where you're vibrating at a higher level, what happens is all the people around you, you have attracted to vibrate at that higher level. And so I know I get asked a lot about artificial intelligence and what do I think about it. And yes, it's been in our world for a long time. And yes, it powers what we're doing today. And yes, it powers a lot of the outside external world. But what if you had to live off of the grid? And when I say off of the grid, without media, without TV, without some of the things that we depend on today, what would that feel like? And does that feel comfortable for you? Because when you enter into that new earth, beauty and bliss and compassion and love is all there is. And the rest, even though maybe a supplement, isn't going to be something for very much longer that we'll have to even think about, I feel like, because we are learning telecommunication. We're learning to communicate with others through our thoughts. The veil that enshrines us, the world, the earth, everything is very thin right now. So when we go to that state of meditation, and I know you talk about this a lot, to where you get to that state where you can transcend, you can travel, you can go to different places, you can see different things, you get new information, you get new downloads. I think a lot of people are on that path. And when you surround yourself and you listen to positive messages like your podcast and your Zooms and my podcasts and my things, then we are exponentially surging that to go even faster.
I love that. It makes me think about how much it behooves us to move away from stimulation. So, if those listening who are well aware of let's say the strongholds of the 3D reality, the matrix, if you want to call it that, it can obviously be very addictive in various ways, in ways that we might not even acknowledge, even if it's scrolling Instagram or, binge watching Netflix or various things that people do throughout their day that they just do for like the attention, the sense of not being alone. Maybe
right.
And that stimulation, which is, let me define that as stimulation first. That stimulation is going to make it harder to feel at home in the new earth.
Correct.
Because it doesn't carry that incoherence, that cacophony. So it really does behoove us. That's a big takeaway. I'd like everyone to really resonate with it, to really take away with this, because the more we are in patterns from the stimulation grid, the harder it's going to be for us to recognize the benevolence of the new earth and be in harmony with it and feel good about it coming. So it could be resistance. We don't want that. And the other thing it brings up is everything we do in order to restore power to the body, specifically, let's talk about the physical body, is to do with water. So those listening know that, you know, they're eating high water content foods rather than dry foods. They're using colon irrigation. Irrigation is all water. And also this idea, you know, that we actually brought up that humans are meant to be 75% water or more, but because of the way one lives, that might be the case when they're a baby, but eating all the dry food and having all the dry waste accumulate means that that quotient, that ratio, is decreasing all the time. And so again, it also behooves us to cleanse significantly so we can bring up that water content within ourselves and thereby benefit more completely from sound therapy. So two work so synergistically beautifully together. The cleaner your body becomes, the higher your water content is, the more you're going to receive, and the sound therapy and the patterns are going to reshape. And then, like you said, 180 days of that kind of work, imagine the regenerated being you could become.
Well, and I think that is so important what you're saying. I mean, without that cleansing, you can't, that's where you have to start. You have to start there, right? Is that cleansing of your physical body. And as you cleanse your physical body, you're cleansing your emotional, you're cleansing your mental, you're clearing all those patterns so much easier, and your body accepts it so much readily. And so I just think that when you're in a healthy, harmonic environment such as water, that everything is going to happen. It's a different medium than we live in. We live in, you know, the earth. We don't live in water. But when we're in water, it's almost like returning to the womb. Mm-hmm. And so when you add that sound piece to the water, it's just like what Dr. Emoto used to do in praying over the water. And I know you know this, but I've been doing that water experiment on our intercoastal since we moved in. And last night, we could see all the way down through the water and see all the beautiful fish that were, and they were just swimming right by us in shows, bringing their whole families, you know, and it was just the most amazing miracle. And so that's what I can see when we bring that same prayer and intention to our own bodies that are filled with water. What a difference that makes.
I mean, can you even imagine the impact? And so with that in mind, I'd love to be a bit specific about what it is that the modalities that you offer. So I have it just in the other room. I should have brought it in with me, but the little pod. Actually, let me go get it so I can show you.
I got it.
Perfect. Okay.
This is our vibrational speaker. And what's neat about this is you can place it anywhere in your house, your office, your clinic, your world, whatever. I travel with this, put it on the bottom of the floor of the plane everywhere I go. I've never had any plane issues. I've always been on time. There's always been peace in the planes. And it's vibrational, so you can use it as a massage tool when you have some tight neck issues. And it comes downloaded with our top 12 albums that can bring that body back into harmony and balance. And then we also have 3 more albums on there that we give away that we feel like is important. And I want to give that to your clients today, is our Safe and Sound for protection and love. And, you know, I want them to be able to hear that and experience it on a deep level, because right now we need that safe and sound, don't we? We need to feel love and protection. So you can, you know, that's one of the modalities. Then we do our water program, which is done in warm water, and there's different parts of that. And then we do our virtual and online programs, or in person, where I actually take you on a journey, and that journey goes to explore where you want to go in consciousness. So no matter where you are, we start there.
Yes, I had that, and I have to say it was absolutely exceptional. I'd like to go back to all of them one more time. The pod I love. I have one I play it all the time. Electra, when she's here, she loves it when I'm playing it. She'll often just turn it on herself. The way it sits in the hand, you just hold it and feel the vibrations. It's just fantastic. So that in and of itself, and it's just something I remember saying to you when I first had it. I was holding it in my hand, like, everybody needs one of these. We should just be walking around with one all day long.
Right.
It charges for 12 hours. So, it's brilliant. I love mine. And then when I come to see, because I'm so close to you in Florida, if anyone can come and work with Kathleen one-to-one, I don't hesitate, just come, because it's so worth it. But I suppose I can just say it like so basically Kathleen puts me on a sound bed, and it is the most extraordinary experience. So she runs the music through the bed, and the body just receives it. It's like a sound mattress, but and then the eye patches on to shut everything out, and the covers over the ears, or the music, actually that's the headphones on the ears rather, and the music's being conducted through the ears and through the body. It's beyond. And then while that's happening, while your body's receiving these healing sounds, Kathleen is working to pull out the incoherence, the black goo, the lineage, write down your both sides of your parents' lines, previous lifetimes, things that we absorbed and took into us energetically that have been really holding us back, tangling us up with its toxic, choking, gnarly goop. Gooey goop. So she can pull a significant amount of that out in a session, and she then, with her guides and spiritual guides, and galactic and the team, as I mentioned earlier, will pour the celestial, divine, highest vibration light into you. So there's a removal of something you don't want, and an absolute flooding of what you could only dream of being imbued with. And the combination with that and the sound, and having it all be led and protected and shepherded by Kathleen herself, is a magnificent experience. So I strongly recommend that if you're even anywhere within even flying distance, if you're not from another galaxy, find a way to get here and work. But even if you are, we'll find a way to get to you too. Kathleen will. Having said that, I've also probed her deeply about whether she can provide this same experience through distance, by a video or a phone conversation or a consultation session. And the answer is yes, she can. I'll let you say more about that, Kathleen. I just wanted to let them know, because I know that their questions are going to abound. Can we do this distance? And the short answer is yes. I'll let Kathleen take it from there. And Kathleen, if you'd like also to expand on what you're actually doing when someone tells you, or you pick up on what is most needed for them, what this process entails, what you're doing when they're lying there on the sound bed with their eyes covered and receiving all the sound. What is it that you're doing?
Okay. Well, to begin with, yes, I can do virtual, and we have a program that sets up. It's a musical, like a Zoom, but it's music for music. So when I do a session, a lot of times I have my mic set up, and you'll see my singing bowls in the back. I have other instruments I play, but I go into a deep meditation when anyone books a session. And first I ask permission from their higher self, their guides, and I ask their guides to work with my guides of the light. And so that starts the minute someone is coming in to work with me, because I want to be able to go into your field and really detect what needs to happen in which field, and how to do that systematically without overloading you or causing you any discomfort. So first and foremost, there's a lot of times I can't go as deep that first visit because your body just isn't ready for it. But we take you to as far as you can go comfortably. I'll put it that way. It doesn't feel that comfortable. I know Natalie's sitting there going, it wasn't very comfortable.
No, that's not true. I actually thought it was so comfortable.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I felt like you went really, really deep with me. And
I do. And
I, I,
so,
I was shifted, significantly shifted after one session. And
okay,
yeah,
good.
yes, which was maintained, which didn't seem to go back, and I felt that my breathing was deeper, all the things that I wanted to achieve with you and more. So yeah.
Okay, great. Well, yes. And when something is released, if you are absolutely ready for it to be released and taken out of you, it's going to happen.
Mhm.
It happens this fast. And then what we do is I bring in through my hands the energy of the universe for healing. And they dictate the light, the colors, the amount that you need. I don't determine any of that. I just am the conduit for the information, and I'm a conduit for the energy. And all sessions are taped because I get a lot of messages for you during a session. And because I'm in a field, those messages will be gone within a couple hours because I just can't contain them in my field. And so that's why you'll always have a recording of whatever I say, whatever I do, so that you can always go back and listen to it. And maybe you missed it. Sometimes we don't hear it all at once. We have to hear it in several layers to be able to understand it. Maybe something that was said wasn't understandable today, but in a couple of weeks you'll go, wait a minute, that, oh yeah, now I get it. And that's how it happens, is that they don't want to overload your system any more than I want to overload your system. So that's really what happens on the table, is each and every client I work with is different. And I never know what that's going to look like until I go into their field.
That's amazing. Well, we've been talking a lot in the group about electromagnetic fields and all the layers of our being, and how, there can be things in all these layers that need to be removed. So everyone listening knows there's work to be done, but to know that there's help to make it more efficient, because obviously we want to get on about really truly living and not be stuck by all these things that happened, and to gunk up our field before we were too old to know better, and just we're too innocent in every way, and we had no idea what was happening. But now we have a bit of insight into why things are the way they are. We want to get on with it. We want to sort it out. We want to pull it out of our tissues. We want to pull it out of our energy fields. There's no delay. Time to live finally.
It is time to live, and excitingly, right? This is exciting times.
And we need our power about us, and to be calm and to be at peace despite what's happening, like what's going on in the world now. And there's, whether that's going to escalate or there's something else that comes along later, there'll always be things that we need to be able to to find our peace within, that equanimity. But in order to get there, we need to be sovereign enough, because we're not battling all this unnecessary gobbledygook that's been that's developed within us. And I know you were so insightful with the things you told me after our session about the various aspects of all the layers, the removed lineage, for example, and even things that you felt I might have been exposed to in the conception process, things that are that we don't necessarily think of until it's pointed out to us that, oh wow, some of this trauma didn't start when you thought it started. It started a long time before that even. So anything you'd like to share with your listeners about, in terms of what they might be able to heal with this work specifically? I mean, you talked about, I know that we have the tracks for all the different different physiological issues and emotional issues, and that's wonderful. And I hope everyone employs those and gets on board with the pod, and and can let you know what tracks they need based on their various ailments and conditions. But what are some of the things that can be dislodged and let's say make people's lives freer in their work one-on-one with you, the work we're describing now?
I think the most important thing that I try to release first and foremost is any dark entities, any dark experiences, anything that was programmed into you that was negative. And usually that's lifetimes ago, not in this present life, but even in this present life, if you were exposed to abuse or you were exposed to whatever it might be, a tragedy, a PTSD experience, whatever it is that's really blocking your emotional, I try to get to that first.
Okay.
Because I feel like the emotional piece is what causes all the dis-ease in the rest of the body.
It
And
makes
once you can get to that, then I think you have a lot better chance of healing.
I love that. So what makes me think of is a bit of an exorcism.
Yes.
And given that, I know I had a very peaceful experience with you, yet which was incredibly fruitful. But when you talk about the discomfort that people feel, do you ever find that you're wrestling demons out of someone's being? That there is more of an entity situation, like like you're pulling things out that are taking a bit of effort? I mean, you have to have
I
some.
feel the darkness and my guides do the rest. So they really deal with that. And so the uncomfortableness that I talk about is emotions that were stored in your tissues and muscles. And a lot of times people haven't been ready to hear those messages or to know what happened to them that's causing all this. So I would say that was probably the hardest thing I see, because when they bring me a message, I see pictures, I see experiences, I hear words. And so oftentimes, and I'm just going to give you an experience. When we were working in the Caribbean, we were in the spa division of resorts. And we would work with most of the women of the country that we were in, or the island mostly. And what we noticed was 9 out of 10 had been abused. And so before we could ever go in and start to train them in our methodology, we had to address that.
It's a big
And
percent.
that was a big awareness to us. And this was, I'm talking 8 years ago. We were doing the work in the Caribbean, probably 7, 8 years ago. And it was rampant. It was rampant. And so, and we see that a lot in the water. The water releases those stored memories that that person may not even know or has blocked from knowing that they even happened. So when they're brought to the surface and they're brought up, that's what feels discomfortable.
Yeah. And it's funny because it seemed like you had the session I had with you on the bed more recently, the sound bed, it seemed like maybe more effective in terms of the amount that you were able to remove, but maybe the water, because I had the water experience too, for everyone listening, and it sounded like I wasn't as readily able to release. There was more holding on.
Right.
But maybe
And
that.
I think, you were thrown into a situation, you didn't know us, we were in a pool, that's an uncomfortable situation to begin with. And so I think it released a little bit to go, oh, maybe I want to try this again. And so I think a lot of times that's what happens in the water, is it's too much too quick.
Yes.
And so what we're trying to really do is get to know the person before we put them in the water.
Right, because the defenses are down, and and I think that's why by the time I got into the sound bed, I'd spent a significant amount of time with you, and it wasn't like I was just being introduced to this process. So I was probably that much more relaxed to receive and for the process to be as much as.
And also, you had been listening to the music for a while.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's been a good month or so of
And
receiving.
so that was already starting to change from an internal perspective. And so I really think that music kind of gets you ready
Yeah.
to have
Yep.
a bigger and better experience each and every
Yeah.
time.
There were a lot of factors that were different. It's true. Wow. Well, it's powerful work, and however it's done, whether it's the pod, whether it's the water sound therapy, whether it's the sound therapy bed, whether it's you working over Zoom, how the combination of your knowledge and this destiny you hold to be a carrier of this knowledge and a dispenser of the grace that it brings. It's just it works in concert to make the symphony possible for the person. I love the way you describe the symphony. And you know, we talk about the body, you said just earlier, organs. There's a reason they're called organs. We're playing organs here, you know, the organs in the orchestra. There's the organism, the giant organ, and then
Mm-hmm.
the ones within it. And there's a reason that all these terms are what they are. Although I struggle with the word harmony because we have harm in the word harmony. I'd like to understand why that is. I'm always curious about words.
And harmony is a word that came from, if I'm not mistaken, the Greek to harmonize. And so when that word was floated around, it was a different connotation than what there wasn't any harmfulness going on in the world at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? So the way it was broken down, it was to bring about a different result. So that word carried over to today has a different connotation as well. Um, a better word that's being used is a resident, you know, bringing your body back into residence.
Right. I mean, you can just say that without harmony, we only have harm.
Right, exactly. I love that way that you said it. So you figured it out. That was great.
But resonance, yes, resonance is beautiful. A resident resonance.
Yeah, we're the
Resident.
resident, right? That's
Exactly.
so good.
Oh, this is so beautiful. Kathleen, we are so fortunate to have you with us and to have access to your gifts and talents and the generosity of spirit with which you bring them to everyone and a world in need. And I know that together you and John reach countless numbers of people. You have concerts, and I know you brought musicians in to present in the most extraordinary venues. So, I mean, you're working one-on-one, and then you're working globally and creating concerts. It's just amazing. So everyone needs to know what you're up to. How do they find your latest, greatest events and get in touch with you specifically?
The best way is through our website, and that's goodvibrationsmusicco.com. And that has events pages. It has contact information for myself. So that's the best way. And I look forward to talking to your amazing group out there. It was so exciting to be here today, and I really appreciate it.
Well, you've been so generous with us and letting us add some of your beautiful tracks as background to our meditations. There's no higher vibration music I would think to include in that. And when we had that opportunity, it was like, yes, that would be amazing. So as they're listening to the meditations, they're getting both. It's a twofer.
Yeah, it really is.
So wonderful. Well,
And John's he is working on his latest new line of music that's probably going to be released by the first of the year, that is really about raising consciousness and working with a binaural beat to even train the brain to a higher level. So look for that in in the new year. It's going to be he's been working on it, and it's beautiful. And in fact, last night he was playing live. That is one thing we are going to do in the new year, is we're going to have sessions where he plays live with his intention and the intention for the person that would be having it. and we'll be doing guided meditations and healings with the live music behind us.
Love it. Wonderful. And at a time when neurotoxicity and cognitive illnesses have reached an all-time high, to have him focusing his talents, his compositions on that area is just so, could not be more perfect. It's so divinely guided. And for that to provide healing for those suffering from those conditions is just an absolute, it's angelic work. It's God's work.
Yeah. And we're so grateful to be the conduit for it.
Yes. The conduit. Do it.
Right.
You can do it very, very well.
Yeah. I love it.
Oh, okay. Kathleen, you're such a blessing. I love you. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you
you.
for all
Thank
your
you.
given me. And yes, to be
We'll
continued.
talk soon.
All right. So much love.